he'd be trying to start a war with Denmark. Even I didn't think he'd be shooting Americans in the street 14 months into his presidency. Even I didn't think he'd be this corrupt on this level so openly. So, in fact, he's been much worse than those of us who allegedly have TDSs. You have TDS, Piers. You have Trump denial syndrome. When I say to you, is Trump racist? You say, no, he's not racist, even though he calls Somalis low IQ, Piers. Do you agree that Somali people are low IQ?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pillarism. Today, we're looking at a tense exchange between Piers Morgan and Mehdi Hasan that quickly turns from debate into something much more revealing. At the center of it, the defense of Donald Trump, the use of Trump derangement syndrome, and what happens when that ing point meets direct evidence. This isn't just a clash of opinions. It's about accountability, media responsibility, and political honesty. If you value clear, fact-based analysis, make sure you like and subscribe. Let's get into it.
Uncover for Donald Trump. Piers, do you agree? Do you agree that Donald Trump is mad, nuts, deranged, and mentally unfit for office? Do you agree with that?
Why do you do this? Why don't you just...
Do you agree he's mad?
Why don't you
nuts?
just say, Mehdi?
I mean, it's a simple question, Piers. People are watching. Do you agree that Donald Trump is mad, deranged,
it's not your show,
and unfit for office? Because those are your words, Piers. Those are your words.
When I come on your show,
those are your words.
When I come on your show, when I come on,
you call Donald Trump deranged, mad,
time out,
and nuts.
When I know, and occasionally I think he is those things. And as you know, I've said it when I think he is, and when I think he deserves praise, I give him praise. My point is, though, that
but overall, you accept
blinkered about AOC. No, I think sometimes he's perfectly normal and lucid. Sometimes he does nutty things.
Most of the time. Come on, Piers. This is a man who rants about shark attacks, who talked about Arnold Palmer's penis at a rally, who did an impression of someone doing oral sex on a microphone at a rally. There's been no president like this. I hate George W. Bush, but I would put George Bush 100 times above Donald Trump in terms of intellectual and mental fitness for office. You cannot question any Democrat's intellectual fitness for office when you have supported this man, the most deranged man, your words, deranged, mad, nuts man, in office.
Just to be clear,
this is a man who couldn't find Taiwan on a map if his life depended on it.
Mehdi, here's the problem. I'm afraid, listen, you know I like you, I respect you very much. You've built an amazing business with Zeteo. Congratulations. But one of the reasons Donald Trump got re-elected is that you guys have got literally Trump derangement syndrome. It plays into his hands. I prefer to be more even-handed with him. I prefer to praise him when he deserves it, and I prefer to whack him when he doesn't. When you're so blindly enraged by everything, including silly jokes he says, you're so deranged about him, actually in the end, you managed to achieve the unthinkable. You managed to help get Trump re-elected.
Hold on.
He got re-elected with a bigger majority.
Do I get to speak? So, hold on. Let's just deal with a couple of things. The reason he got re-elected, I would argue, is the media gave him a pass. People like you, I came on your show on the eve of his election, and you were telling me all sorts of things. Oh, don't call him a Nazi. Don't call him a fascist. Meanwhile, we have masked thugs pulling American citizens off the street.
He's not a Nazi.
In cold blood.
He's not a Nazi.
I was right about his fascism. You were wrong about his fascism. I was right that he would try and stay in office in 2021. You were wrong about that. His people are shooting Americans
stay in office in 2021.
Everything that I said would happen in a second term.
He didn't stay in office.
Piers, and you said he was
he's not a Nazi, and he's not a fascist.
Oh, my God. Piers, you, in January 2021, accused him of trying to stay in office. You said he sent an armed mob to the Capitol. You said he should be removed from office, never be president again. You changed your tune once he got back to the presidency. I get that. That's fine.
No.
I've been right about everything I've said about Trump. And as for being Trump derangement syndrome, it's the very opposite. Even I didn't think he'd be trying to start a war with Denmark. Even I didn't think he'd be shooting Americans in the street 14 months into his presidency. Even I didn't think he'd be this corrupt on this level so openly. So, in fact, he's been much worse than those of us who allegedly have TDSs. You have TDS, Piers. You have Trump denial syndrome. When I say to you, is Trump racist? You say, no, he's not racist, even though he calls Somalis low IQ, Piers. Do you agree that Somali people are low IQ? Is that not the most racist thing?
Just to explain, Mehdi, just to explain.
You're dodging me.
This is not your show.
Do you think Somalis are low IQ, Piers?
This is not your show, Mehdi.
Do you think Somalis are low IQ?
You don't get to interview me for half an hour. It's not your show.
People are worried about your silence.
When I come on your show, I haven't been silent about any of these things. You should watch my show more.
Trump calls Somalis low IQ. Is that not a Nazi thing to say? Is that you? Okay, I'm not asking you a question.
It's not a Nazi thing to say. No,
I think I think
it's not a Nazi thing to say.
It is white supremacist rhetoric to call black people garbage and low IQ.
The problem is,
it's amazing that you're defending.
Okay, Mehdi,
amazing.
Let's not talk at the same time. No, here's what I'm defending. When people like you on left keep calling Trump a Nazi or comparing him to Adolf Hitler, that is exactly what I'm talking about Trump derangement syndrome. It is so ridiculous, so offensive, so inaccurate. Adolf Hitler and the Nazis murdered 12 million people, including 6 million Jews in a Holocaust. There is zero comparison to be made.
Then why are they pumping out Nazi propaganda from the DHS Twitter account? Why are they using literal Nazi themes and quoting Nazi books? Do you know that they're doing that? Have you checked that out? Go check it out. I wrote about it. Why are they trying to...
Has he murdered 12 million people?
A man who says... Why is he? That's not the definition of a Nazi. That means Nick Griffin's not a Nazi because he didn't murder. You know perfectly well you don't have to be Hitler to have Nazi views. These are Nazi views. When you put someone in front of Congress right now, they're trying to confirm someone to the State Department, Piers, who says that we need to address the Jewish question, that Jews are victims, that white people are being erased. Are those not Nazi views? Are those not far-right views? Are those not views you want to condemn? This is your friend. You say, Donald Trump is my friend. I'm asking you, Donald Trump, your friend, is friends with Epstein. Donald Trump, your friend, says Somalis are low IQ. I'd like you to condemn that.
Mehdi.
We know how many Trump people are in the files in very awkward positions, lying about their relationships, from Elon Musk to Howard Lutnick, Mehmet Oz, multiple. That's why Thomas Massie is now calling this the Epstein administration. But just on Trump, I just want to mention a couple of things. I just brought this along just to remind myself. Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than has previously been reported or that we were aware. That's an email from one of his own DOJ lawyers in 2020. Trump lied, Piers, when he said he never went on the plane. He went on the plane 8 times. We know, for example, that Epstein wrote in 2011, Donald Trump spent hours at my house with a victim. He referred to Trump being at his house as the dog that hasn't barked. He said in 2019, Trump knew about the girls. Now, he could be lying, Epstein. He's a horrible, convicted sex offender. But the point is, we've not had full investigations. The media has barely touched this, Piers. There's been a lot of coverage of Prince Andrew and Thiel and Elon Musk and Reid Hoffman and all sorts of people, Katie Couric. There hasn't actually been that much coverage of Donald Trump's own relationship with Epstein as much as there should have been. If this was any other president or politician, this would be a huge scandal. And I agree with you on the kind of, we haven't got evidence of criminality, but I just want to show, this is in the Epstein files, right? This is page 21. This is a 21-page FBI PowerPoint presentation. This is the page they have from last summer called Prominent Names. Donald Trump's at the top with 2 allegations in there. Now, I'm not saying those are proven allegations, but the idea that we as a media, that the American public's not even familiar with those allegations, I think we need to be talking much more about what a huge scandal this is and how many lies have been told by the people in power, not just Donald Trump. And I know Bill Clinton is going to have his day to talk about what were his relationships with Epstein as well. Piers, I'll say this, one last point. I no longer can just laugh at people who come up with conspiracy theories anymore.
Let's break down what this moment actually tells us, because it's bigger than just a heated exchange between Piers Morgan and Mehdi Hasan. What you're seeing here is the collapse of a very specific media strategy. The phrase Trump derangement syndrome isn't an argument, it's a shield. It's designed to delegitimize criticism of Donald Trump without engaging with the substance of that criticism. And Mehdi Hasan doesn't just push back emotionally, he dismantles it structurally. He forces the conversation back to facts, to record, to consistency. And that's where the entire defense starts to fall apart. Because here's the core issue. You cannot simultaneously acknowledge that Trump has said and done extreme, erratic, and in many cases, deeply troubling things, and then turn around and dismiss criticism of those same behaviors as derangement. That's not balance, that's contradiction. And in political analysis, contradiction is where credibility breaks. Piers Morgan tries to position himself as even-handed, but what this clip exposes is something more selective. When Mehdi points out Trump's rhetoric, his conduct, and his past statements, Piers doesn't meaningfully rebut those points. He reframes the conversation, he shifts it, he labels it. That's not engagement, that's avoidance. And in a democratic system, avoidance by influential media figures isn't neutral, it has consequences. Now zoom out. What this moment reveals is a broader accountability gap in political media. When powerful figures, especially someone like Donald Trump, are treated with lowered standards of scrutiny, the entire information ecosystem shifts. The baseline for what is considered acceptable behavior moves. And when that happens, the burden falls on journalists and commentators to either reinforce that shift or challenge it. Mehdi Hasan chooses to challenge it. He doesn't accept the premise that calling out extreme behavior is somehow irrational. He flips the frame entirely and introduces a more accurate diagnosis, not Trump derangement syndrome, but what he calls Trump denial. And whether you agree with the exact wording or not, the underlying point is hard to ignore. There is a pattern of minimizing, reframing, or outright dismissing conduct that would be disqualifying under any consistent standard. And that's where the Epstein discussion becomes critical. Notice how the tone changes when documented material, references to records, and specific allegations are brought into the conversation. The debate stops being abstract. It becomes evidentiary. And importantly, Mehdi is careful. He doesn't claim proven criminality where it hasn't been established. He highlights the lack of scrutiny, the inconsistency in coverage, and the double standard in how different figures are treated. That's a legitimate media critique. Because let's be clear, in any functioning democracy, proximity to serious allegations, especially those tied to something as disturbing as the Epstein case, should trigger deeper investigation, not deflection. The standard should be consistent regardless of political alignment. And when it isn't, audiences notice, trust erodes, and polarization deepens. There's also a second layer here, one that often gets overlooked. When Piers repeatedly tries to regain control of the conversation by saying, "This isn't your show," what he's really signaling is discomfort with losing narrative authority. But in a debate, authority doesn't come from hosting. It comes from having the stronger argument. And in this exchange, Mehdi is driving the conversation because he's anchoring it in specifics, not slogans. That's why this moment resonates. Not because it's dramatic, but because it exposes a pattern people recognize. Deflection replacing debate, branding replacing argument, and selective skepticism replacing consistent standards. And then there's the political implication. When criticism of a political figure is routinely dismissed as irrational, it creates a chilling effect. It discourages scrutiny, it normalizes behavior that should be questioned, and ultimately it weakens democratic accountability. Because democracy doesn't just depend on elections. It depends on informed citizens evaluating leaders based on facts, not narratives designed to shut down discussion. So the real takeaway here isn't about who won the debate. It's about what kind of discourse we're willing to accept. Do we accept a political environment where labeling replaces reasoning? Or do we demand one where claims are tested, records are examined, and power is held to account consistently? That's the line this clip draws. If you're here for analysis that cuts through the noise and keeps the focus where it belongs, on facts, accountability, and the health of democracy, make sure you subscribe to Pillarism, like the video, and share it with someone who needs to see it.